Hello, everybody, and welcome to the God of War Ragnarok listening party. My name is Alex Moukala, and I'm here at Sony Studios together with the team at Santa Monica Music. They're here with me. Guys, please give a massive cheers to yourself for the amazing job you did on the God of War soundtrack. Yeah. I don't know if you couldn't hear them, maybe they didn't cheer loud enough, and I look like stupid talking to myself, but they're here. I swear to God. You can't see them. They're like the Jotnar in God of War Ragnarok. But they're just like them. They're giants. And in fact, I'm very honored to be here in the presence of them. My imposter syndrome is kicking harder than Kratos himself. But anyway, this event is about you, the fans. There's one thing I would love you to know. I've had many conversations with the team here at Santa Monica Studio, and the thing that's been the most apparent to me is how much the fandom, you guys, and me as well, because I'm a God of War fan, have impacted the development of this game itself. You know, it's so hard to work on a game for several months and years and not being able to share the product of your work with anybody until the game is out. There's days that are so hard that you feel the motivation die down. But then when you open, Twitter or something, you see the fan arts from the people waiting for the game. Somebody made like a portrait of the main character, or they share some stories or something like that. The messages that the fans share all the time for their favorite games. As a game developer, seeing something like that really impacts you and inspires you a lot. That becomes the inspiration that pulses through the heart of the game itself. I think God of War Ragnarok would not have been the same without you guys. And I think Santa Monica Studio recognized that as well. And so today, I want to show you something. This beautiful set where we're going to do the listening party in a while, by the way. We start the listening party in around half hour. Has been adorned with some beautiful contributions from you, the fans. Santa Monica Studio has officially commissioned some of these pieces, and I want to show them to you. So there's this first one by Daniel Wing Zero, portraying Kratos and Atreus during their adventures. And look at this. It's so lovely. The details are amazing on Kratos' armor and harness. This level of detail, effort, and passion coming from the fandom is nothing short of mind-blowing. I really, really love that. Let's move to the next one. I think this one is probably my favorite, from BT Black Thunder, showing, Kratos and Atreus against a very angry Freya. This, when I saw it, I thought this was official from the game itself. Look at the composition. It's like a photograph, and you can feel the motion. You can feel every emotion in this battle. It's very mind-blowing. Look at the details on Freya's clothing and everything. Black Thunder really went crazy on this artwork. And again, that's you guys inspiring the developers. There's this beautiful, minimalistic art from Ollie Hoff. Amazing. Look at this, opening. It's like Thor's hammer and Atreus and Kratos once again and Thor over there. It's really mind-blowing what you guys are able to do. And this really bounces off the developers themselves. Here in the middle, we have the God of War Ragnarok, logo, looking very amazing. And by the way, I felt very stupid yesterday when I was here talking with the developers, and they made me notice this is a serpent. It's the world serpent, Mirgarsomir. I never realized, but apparently that's what it is. There's more fan art here from Sandara Tang with Atreus and Kratos on this beautiful sled with the wolves. And again, mind blown by the details. Look at the snow. It really makes you feel the motion. This is, I can't imagine the amount of time that you guys have spent on crafting these pieces. And I'm just mind blown. They look so official. By the way, speaking of sleds, this is a prop that the team has prepared. This is the sled that Kratos and Atreus use in the game. It's the actual sled. They pulled it out of the game, and now it's real. We also have these two little wolves, which the team has nicely named Thimble and Winter, which is kind of proper for the game. And two more artworks that blew my freaking mind. Check this out. Look at this. Look at that. This is incredible. This, if you show this to me and told me, oh, they're making a God of War animated series, I would believe you, because this looks like it's so official. It's from Lauritz Rask, and it's such an amazing portrait of many of the characters in this game. There's even like the Sindri and Brock here in the shadows. There's Tyr, Freya, Kratos, Atreus, Thor, and a hooded character right here, which I don't know who it is, but there's like this raven that alludes to maybe Odin. I wonder. I love the light and shadow work. And once again, this comes from you guys, the fandom. It's crazy the level of passion, detail that gets put in these pieces. I get the feeling that these games really impact people's lives beautifully. Lastly, we have this from Woolstar Pixels, a beautiful pixel interpretation of God of War Ragnarok. Look at this. He even drew like the hue. It's so amazing. This feels like a playable game. I wish that Sony really made this happen. You know, God of War Ragnarok remake. I'll buy it on day one. In any case, we are having a small chat, or rather, you guys are having a small chat on Discord, some of you. So I would recommend you guys to jump over to the Santa Monica Discord and join the conversation there. There's lots of like people sharing beautiful comments about the game. And the link is going to be in the description of this video, I think. In any case, let's check out some more of the things that the studio has prepared. We have this beautiful controller with the bear and the wolf. Freaking amazing, very amazing. I really enjoy looking at it. My favorite thing here, we have this God of War mugs. They're pretty amazing, pretty mind-blowing. Makes you feel like Kratos when you drink beer out of it. There's no beer in here, no. I shouldn't drink alcohol right now. We have a beautiful steel book. This one comes with the limited edition of the game. Behind here, there's some Nordic language saying, game's really good, you should probably buy it. That was not my joke. Somebody at Santa Monica did that joke. She's amazing, by the way. And then we have this box. This is from the Jotnar edition of the game. In fact, if you open it up, you may see something familiar here. Looks pretty freaking awesome. And somebody at Santa Monica said, this looks like a guitar amp. And now I cannot unsee the guitar amp, and I want something like that in my house. And then we have the amazing hammer, which somehow I'm worthy enough to hold in my hands. It's so heavy. Look at the detail on this thing. This is beautiful handiwork. Makes me feel like I'm inside the game. Really. Speaking of that, last thing I want to show you, we have this beautiful art book, The Art of God of War Ragnarok, which I think is available for pre-order on Amazon. I cannot open it now because we cannot spoil you guys in this live stream. The game has been released just recently. And again, if you haven't bought it, I do recommend to buy it because it's an amazing successor to the prequel. I'm really blown away with the work that the guys did on the game. Anyway, as you guys know, today, we are going to sit down here in a while with the composer, Bear McCreary, and the game director, Eric Williams. Now, I want to tell you a bit about who these guys are. Bear McCreary specifically, you guys may know him for God of War. If you're here, I suppose you really love the music from the game. And it's really mind-blowing, amazing score. And I really enjoy Bear's work. One thing that many people don't know about him is that he scored so many things. It's crazy. Like, if you have seen the Lord of the Rings TV series that came up recently, he was the guy that made the music for that. If you saw Da Vinci's Demons, The Walking Dead, Battlestar Galactica, he made the music for that. He recently released the soundtrack of a TV series, I think, called The Serpent Queen, and it's completely different from God of War. Like, he just writes music in so many different styles. Somehow it works. It's all amazing, and it's all incredibly inspiring. And I do recommend you to check out his stuff, because it's so full of wonderful ideas and soundscapes that you wouldn't expect from him, but they still sound very much like him. I don't know how he does that. And then director Eric Williams has been an integral, fundamental part to the God of War series from the very start. He's a bit of a mysterious figure, but today you're going to find out a bit more about him. And then you might be asking yourself, who's this person talking to me right now? I don't even, what? Yeah, I know. I'll just tell you. My name is Alex Moukala. I'm a YouTuber, and I'm African, Italian, that lives in Prague. I know that sounds sort of like the beginning of a joke, an African Italian, blah, blah, blah. But no, that's my life. And I also happen to make music. And one of my favorite things is to explain to people why video game music is freaking amazing. I wonder, in your case, guys, if games have had a life-changing impact for you. Like many people often think, oh, it's just entertainment, it's whatever, it's not that important, right? And in a way, yeah, games are games, they're meant to entertain, but these stories, they can really change your life, in a way. Like for me personally, I remember when I was a little kid, I played a lot of PlayStation. Maybe I played too much PlayStation, but I remember listening to the music in these games, like Final Fantasy, God of War, etc. It really inspired me, made me fantasize of worlds that don't exist, but it was so cool. It gave me a place to belong in a way. And all the positive messages in the stories of those games were really fueled and supercharged by the music. Every time I listen to the music from those games, I'm reminded of the stories and the things they taught me, the way they changed me. And growing up, I really appreciated that, and I decided I wanted to do something similar. I was, and still am, a nobody, I would say. But I thought, maybe I can do something good with this life and create music as well that ends up having a positive impact on people's lives and makes them believe themselves in something like that, something of that nature. That thought came out of people doing that for me with the video games I played. And so video game music, for me, had a life-changing effect because I did embrace those dreams. I did become a composer, and I ended up on this path meeting loads of people in this industry that had a very similar story. Every person sitting in the audience right now, like the Santa Monica music team, the people I met at Santa Monica in general, or the people I met in my career as a composer for games, every one of them has a story like this one. A story that starts as a fan who's super passionate about this stuff and that embraces it so much that it ends up becoming their life in a way, professionally. And I would love to help people notice just how amazing the game developers are. I do believe they make the world a better place, especially in dark times. I remember during the pandemic at the start, so many amazing games came out on PlayStation, and those really distracted me from the horror of the world that was happening. And I can never pay that back. Like, I'm so grateful for that, but I'm like, it's such an amazing gift. I don't know how to give back. And that was created by people just like you and me. People who were just fans of games and then decided to make the games. And yeah, all of them have amazing stories like this. And it's really touching for me to be in their presence and presenting this show. In any case, enough about me. I want to ask the people over at Discord, which, by the way, again, if you're not on Discord, join the conversation over there. I wonder how games have changed your life, if they have changed your life. Please write in the comments right now a little bit about your story so that, we get all cozy and hyped up for a conversation with like Bear and Eric. By the way, I wonder what your thoughts on the game are so far. I played only a third of God of War Ragnarok, but I'm already blown away by what the team did. It is very hard to follow a hit like God of War 2018 with another hit. There's this huge shadow that is cast by the predecessor, and it's very intimidating. So I'm very impressed and mind blown by what the work that the team has done, because this game just flows like butter, and it's so entertaining, it's so amazing, and it's so touching and so human. Probably in a way that God of War 2018 was, but not to this level. I'm very impressed with the work that was done here. So I wonder, what do you guys think about it? Maybe I'm gonna read some of the comments on chat right now on Discord. People are talking about who is Bear McCreary? I only know Rabe. That is nice. I may be addicted to Blood Upon the Snow. I am too. There's questions for Bear already. Damn, there's so many of you. I wonder about where you guys are, watching us from. I know this is going all over the world at the same time. And I know everybody's so excited to talk to Bear. And so am I. Very much so. And I have a question for you. What is your favorite theme from the God of War series so far, especially like this 2018 and the Ragnarok version. For me personally, it may be Ashes with Eivor. That track is so special. God of War is a game that has a lot of, violence in it and a lot of like manliness, I would say. Kratos is a character that doesn't allow himself to be vulnerable very often. And the soundtrack is a little bit of a reflection of that. But when I heard Ashes, that really touched me, especially because of the context it's been put in. But it's also an amazing performance from Eivor. And the soundtrack, like the theme, the orchestration from Bear is just so freaking good and touching. It's amazing. It's beautiful. I wonder what you guys like. I'm reading people saying they like Valkyries. Oh, that the track is, pretty cool. Rage of Sparta. Blood Upon the Snow. Echoes of an Old Life. Everybody has a different answer. I love that. That just shows how amazing of a composer Bear is, because he really, I get the feeling that he put as much effort in every track. Like there wasn't a track on this soundtrack where it was like, oh, this one was written a bit with less, effort. No, all of it sounds so packed with intention, storytelling, and all those good things. And I think you guys agree. I'm reading lots of positive sentiment in the chat right now. So I'm really looking forward to for you guys meeting Bear. I had the chance to talk with him a little bit, half an hour ago. We nerded about music for a long time, and we're gonna try to do that in this listening show. What we're gonna do is we're gonna listen to a few tracks from the game, and after each track, we're gonna provide a little commentary from Bear and Eric, and then we're gonna reply to some of the questions that you guys submitted. We received so many over these past few days, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to go through all of that. But in any case, I think we are due for a very small break before the actual pre-show starts. But there is a whole evil plan that has been set in motion from us ever since we began the live stream back there, which is there's been a secret giveaway going on Discord this whole time. Two of you who have been chatting over there in the server have just won a copy of this beautiful vinyl. This is from the Jotnar edition of the game. Contains 2 tracks, A Song's Path and Giantess of Ironwood. And this tune will be signed by Bear and Eric Williams. So I'm kind of jealous of the people who are going to get that. And the 2 people who won, by the way, are going to receive a message from Santa Monica Studio on Discord. So congratulations to you guys. And now let us have a small break from my annoying voice and get warm and ready for actually meeting Bear and Eric in a while. See you guys in a bit. Bye-bye. They're showing the logos right now. Hello, everybody. We are back at the Sony Studios with Bear McCreary and Eric Williams, the composer of God of War, the director of God of War. As I promised earlier, they are going to sign these 2 vinyls that go to 2 very fortunate fans, which I totally envy. So there you go. So the 2 fortunate ones, once again, Santa Monica Studios is going to contact you over a Discord so they can, get this delivered to your house.
There you go.
Thank you. Look how fancy. Mine will not be that fancy.
I love this design.
That's a nice signature.
I put the music note on it so you know.
Dude.
I did the music. 8th note, one of my favorite notes, one of my top 3 notes.
Give me that.
That is so nerdy. I love it.
I know.
I need to ask you to sign something. I forgot. I forgot that. Well, by the way, congratulations, Bear, for winning the HMMA awards for Best Song in Games with Blood Upon the Snow. That is pretty amazing.
Awesome.
And
did I win that?
yeah,
Wow,
I've been
cool.
told that.
I was actually had a family thing I think it was last night.
Oh,
That's
congratulations,
awesome.
man.
Wow,
that's what
that's
they
cool.
told me. If they
Hey,
lied to
there
me,
you go.
we both look like douchebags, but congratulations, Bear.
Nice. Well, shout out to
How's the year?
Hoser. Yeah, I mean that. What a great opportunity that was, and
That was an amazing song.
that's awesome. Cool. Thanks.
Well, and congratulations to everybody, Santa Monica. Like, God of War Ragnarok has been nominated for 7 million categories at the Game Awards, right? So that is pretty sick.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Maybe we'll win one of those.
Well, guys, we have some tracks prepared. We're going to listen to them together, but we also have some questions from the community. And
Right on.
I think we'll start with a few questions, if you guys are ready. First, how are you guys feeling?
I'm feeling great.
Yeah?
I can't believe we're here already. Been working on this for so many years. I still feel like, shouldn't I go back and tweak the mix a little bit or something? Is it actually done?
Do you tweak the mix?
I tweak everything. Everything.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling, Eric?
I feel good. Yeah, we're done. People like it. It's out there.
What else can you ask for?
Not much.
I get the feeling like Eric and Kratos are stoic at the same level, which I really love that. I appreciate that.
In this setting, perhaps, but behind the scenes, I do. I do talk a lot when we're trying to get shit done.
All right. So, yeah, I just realized one of the first questions is basically what I just asked you, which is, how is the Santa Monica studio team feeling after a week after release? How does it feel to lead the 2022 Game Awards with 10 nominations, including Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, and Best Art Direction?
I don't know how they're feeling. I mean, I hope they feel good, but they're not here, unfortunately, so we can't ask them. I'll speak for them, though. I think they're very excited. It's been a long road to get there, and the team put everything they had into it. We made this game like it was the last one we were going to make, which is how we always approach projects, and it takes a lot out of people to do that, and I hope they're all getting some rest now and gearing up for the awards. Hopefully we'll win some.
Yeah, you guys deserve it, honestly.
Thank you so much, Alex.
People wanted to know, for Eric specifically. We'll get to you, Bear.
No.
Please ask
I'm Eric's wingman here. What he said.
Yeah. They wanted to know, can you speak a bit more about how you work with Bear? Well, that was how you work with Bear to create the score. What role does a game director have in the creation of a score?
Yes. Tell them all about what I do.
This is when you wait to do this? We're gonna air it out on the internet? No, it was from my perspective, he can change all of this when he speaks if he wants. But we met for the first time at the recording studio? Yeah, over at Santa Monica, and we sat down and kind of like walked him through the game. What did we spend 2-3 hours together?
It was a couple hours,
Yeah. And just showing him everything. But the only thing he cared about was this one portrait of this one character. It was this very specific dwarf.
He was very handsome.
Yeah, he was extremely handsome.
I would thought who's this character? What's his backstory?
Yeah, and I kept trying to put it under the table, and all he wanted to do was talk about that character. And I was like, we got this whole game. Don't you want to know what's going on? He's like, but that guy.
See, I realized it really was the story. I think what you were trying to tell me is it's the story of Rabe.
It was,
And
wasn't
it's
it?
told through another POV, and there's other stuff that happens.
Yeah.
But like really, that's the emotional core of the game. I mean, like that's what I heard you saying anyway.
I mean, I'm glad that's what you heard. That's what
yeah,
I wanted
no,
you to do.
I mean, I wrote some stuff for other characters too.
Yeah, sure.
No, but seriously though, he did spring that on me in our first meeting.
That's amazing.
Like it was incredible. He was like, "Oh yeah, here's some concept art, and there's one other character we want to show you," and you just let me find it. Like you just let me look through these things. It was so surreal, seeing this character who looks like me. I mean, it is me. I mean, it just, you know what I mean? It was so incredible. So that was definitely a treat.
Yeah, I mean, it was like us showing respect to Bear, like how much, we wanted him back on the team, and he was gonna, bring another one home for us. So we were like, we gotta butter his bread somehow. So, but yeah, we sat down and ran through the whole game, and I think we had some really good conversations about where it was going to go, and what role Trace was going to play. And
It's the story. That's the answer to your question. It's the story ultimately that guides the musical process on a game like this. Who are the characters? What are they going through? It's an expansion of when I sat down with Corey for the 2018 game and heard the story of a father and son taking ashes to the highest point in all the realms. And this story has more layers and more nuance and more perspectives. And I think that's what that first meeting was really communicating to me more than anything else, was like, not only are we returning to that world and those themes, but I walked away from that thinking, wow, I gotta bring a new level of thematic complexity, thematic density, thematic storytelling to this to be able to provide the support for this ambitious
speaking
story.
of support, the rest of the relationship was then these neurotic text messages that I would get on my phone all the time, like randomly, like, did you listen to it yet? It's like literally just showed in my inbox like 30 seconds ago. It's like, how could I possibly
Composers
listen to
need,
this?
like-
Yeah,
We're a bit needy sometimes.
we're a needy bunch.
Yeah.
It's true. It's very true.
No, but it was great because it was very personal. Like we could just, and then he would be like, I'm calling you right now. Not like, can I call you? I'm calling you right now. So you need to pick up the phone. But it was great, and it was exactly what you want. You didn't want any walls. It was just like, we can talk about it. Let me get you up to speed on this, and I really appreciated it because I like to be very direct, and it was easy to do that with Bear.
That's amazing. I really enjoy your relationship, guys. I love the dynamic you guys have. And it's very important, People have a question for you finally, Bear.
Oh my God.
Which you touched on a little bit now. Was there a different approach in the way you composed the music for Ragnarok compared to 2018?
Well, you're right, Alex. I did touch upon it, that there's more material that was needed to tell a story that had more branches off its primary path. I think that the biggest challenge was writing a theme for Atreus. I mean, if I could just boil it down to one thing. In God of War 2018, we had 2 characters and 2 themes, but it wasn't obvious. It was like a theme for the father and a theme for the mother. And the story of Atreus, was musically supported by, it was almost like a game of tug of war that was happening across a linear path. This is now almost like a triangle now, where you have the mother and the father and their histories, but Atreus is also going in a different direction as his own character, as his own person. He has his own identity that is neither the mother nor the father. And I wish I had written him a theme in the first game, only because now I had to write one with the pressure of matching these other 2.
You're going to also talk about the Atreus theme more in detail in the BTS video coming out next week, right?
Yeah, I mean,
But there were also so many other character themes in the game.
well, the Dwarven brothers.
I love that one.
Needed their own theme.
Yeah.
And Angerboda needed a theme. Odin and Thor and Ragnarok itself are all represented by yet another theme that had variations and layers for the different offshoots. We're going to all 9 realms. I wanted all 9 realms to have a sound, to have a musical language that was clear when you went there. That's a lot. That's just a lot to generate and to generate in the early stages. But that's what's great about working with Sony and Santa Monica Studios that I was brought in. This meeting that we were talking about was happening at a time in the schedule where there was sufficient time for me to plan all that out. I think I wrote themes for like a year almost before I got into
Before we even got into
which was similar to 2018. I would say like almost a year doing some prototype cues, prototype builds, but just themes. And then once that was all decided, then we really hit the ground.
Yeah, your work matched up with the dev cycle like almost exactly. It was like, okay, here are the themes, and we were getting characters fleshed out and concepts, and you started getting them in. You could kind of see how it could come together, but it wasn't. You're not getting, the choral stuff. There's no orchestra, so it's not finished. But you kind of see where it's headed and where it could go.
State.
Yeah, and then the next path of that, we would be starting to hit stuff, and it was like stepped. It wasn't just like, well, we're done, and now he's going to come in at the end, and like try to get it all together. It was like, so you could see it evolve together. And
that's nice.
It was good for me because the first time doing it, I was thinking it might go the other way, where it's like, it'll be silent for a long time, and then all of a sudden, at the end, we'll have music.
That's hard because like the music is a link between the real world and the game itself. I think when you really hear the music, you're like, oh, this is a thing now. This is.
It changes everything.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember we had one designer in the team, and he was like, man, the opening scene is just really long. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, come back and see it later. And the only thing we did was put the music in, and I showed him again. He was like, oh, it's so much better now. It's so much faster. What'd you do to it? And I was like, they put the music in.
Wow.
Exact same length. And then it came around to being like, oh, wow, this does change everything. And then them looking at it from the combat point of view, like even that, like the energy that comes out of the combat when the music is there is so much more. And that's one of the cool things about the dev cycle you'll see is like for a long time, because there's no music or the sound effects aren't in, everybody plays like muted essentially. And then when it starts to come in for the first time, everybody starts to turn it on, or you'll hear the leads be like, turn it on, the music is in now, the sound is in, you can hear the monsters, all these things are coming together, and that's where the experience starts to explode, and you're like, oh, that thing you were talking about where you're like, maybe this could be good, that's when it happens. And it's so magical when it's the audio part that you're waiting for.
Yeah.
That sounds so exciting.
Yeah, it is.
People have one more question for you, Eric, before we listen to the first track.
Sure.
These are all comments from the community. Somebody said, you're one of the most hands-on and dedicated game directors. What is it that keeps you going? What pushes you past not just your own role, but lending a helping hand to all departments where needed?
Wow, that's a big question.
Well,
I mean, part of it just comes from, I'll just be honest, the way I was raised is you just work hard at what you're going to do. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, there's kind of this saying I picked up along the way, and I can't remember exactly who said it, but it really stuck with me, this idea of like, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And if you're going to sit down and do it and you're going to spend time on it, do it right. And so even when you're making the most lowly creature in the game, it's like that needs to be just as good as the giant boss or the big Thor moment or whatever it's going to be in these games. So that's how I've always approached game design, and I try to instill that into the people under me, that if we just stick to this road, things will come together. They will, you can almost outwork the problem because the things we do are things no one's ever done before on a daily basis, and no one will ever do again. There's singular moments in time that come together. So many of them, like millions of them, come together to make this game Ragnarok.
Yeah.
But no one will make Ragnarok again.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So that's like the short answer.
No, I was talking to you before about how much I enjoy, for example, the Atreus gameplay in the game. Normally, when there's like a secondary character in a game that has their portion in the game, it's annoying as heck. But the Atreus actually like that more than Kratos now. Like, I really enjoyed that.
And that comes down to one of our, absolutely incredible designers who, was the guy who shepherded, Atreus through the last game, built him as a companion character up. Hayato, if you're out there listening, I'm going to embarrass you right now because I know he's like me. He likes no limelight whatsoever. But, he was the guy that brought it all together for this. And there's so many people, all the animators, everybody that comes, but he was at the top, the tip of the spear for getting playable Atreus to be as good as he is.
Oh, congratulations to
him. Sometimes, we get this feedback where he's better than Kratos, and it's like you couldn't ask for anything more than that. And I hope that makes everyone involved with that character extremely happy.
All right, then I think it's time to check out the first track today, right? All right, let's do it.
See
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful track.
Thank you.
Congratulations, dude.
Thanks.
Man, that final that ending section when you remove every instrument, you have just the brass playing on top range, and then like you bring the low end back suddenly.
That was in the trailer, right? At the end of the trailer was the end of that track with the cool jellyfish thing, and it was just I remember all those shots, and I remember thinking like, wow, that was just like the end of the track that I had just written is like, well, this is like our guy's theme. Like what's different about it this time around? And it's gonna have a little more emotion and a little more.
Dude, there's so much. Like in the middle in the B section where there's like the strings.
Yeah.
It just changes to a different mode and something. It sounds very foreign.
It's vulnerable because we're at the heart.
Yeah.
In the middle of the piece, like you just get to those calm moments. I just try to represent the character in a piece of music. You know what I mean? So like in that case, I just wanted to show all of the layers that there are to this guy. And of course, you start off with what you see, like the most visible, obvious layers is like he's like stern and stoic and strong and physical and masculine, and the music is all those things. But then just like in the game, as it goes on, you realize there's more there inside, and I feel like the music does show that, and that's pretty cool.
I think you did an amazing job, honestly.
Oh, thanks, man.
Very, very, very iconic theme. And I didn't like when I heard the first version. I'm like, yeah, this is the 2018 version. I'm like, this is the definitive version. You can't top this. There was a sense of ascension in it. It was so nice. Then I heard this. I'm like, dang, he did. The Madlet did it. He went beyond.
It's interesting. I don't mean to jump ahead of a question that you might have had, but there were discussions there was great themes in the original God of War games. They had a lot of great music. And that was always on the table, I remember talking with Corey about it. Like, do we quote that stuff, or do we, write something new? And that was the direction we ended up going. I think primarily for dramatic reasons was that it really was sort of a fresh start, and that, I think that allowed me to craft a theme that does have all the things you're talking about, those layers, which just they were there in the older games, but they weren't as present. I think the other games had just such an emphasis on like power and might. That was the thrill of playing them. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not a criticism. I loved those scores.
No. But I love that they left you the space to be very much you, because when I hear your other soundtracks, these like mode changes and all these under like these beautiful harmonies, etc. They're there, right? That's very much Bear sound, but at the same time you embrace God of War entirely, so it was very synergetic. You guys did an amazing job. Eric, people were wondering, what was your reaction after hearing the new main theme?
Oh boy, that's a good one. It's funny because at one point before we even heard that, we discussed like not touching it at all. To your point, exactly what you were saying. It was like, why mess with it? It's good. It's him. We know that's the case. But that would almost be like not evolving Kratos for this game. So we knew we had to go in, and that's where Bear started to come back with some ideas. And we started to talk about the idea of the bear and the wolf and what that meant, and the whole idea of like, the whole last game was about bringing them together. And so like once they get to that place, like what would that sound like? That they're a unit now. And to his point about the triangle, the whole family, we wanted to make sure everything was represented in there, that was that family. And so when I heard it, I was like, yeah, this we're good, you know what I mean?
But it was a long journey. I mean, actually, this is where the extra time helped. That wasn't the first draft. I mean, I definitely...
I believe that.
That was not the first draft. There were others that were more sort of conservatively hewing to the 2018 track. There were others that were like further out there. I mean, and it wasn't just me and Eric. I mean, the whole audio team at Santa Monica Studio, and I mean, this was where it was great to have enough time for everyone to like listen and settle in and discuss it. I mean, that's where it's great to not be in a hurry to do this, because I do feel like we landed on one that it feels right. It is similar enough, but also it's distinctly different. I mean, you hear it right in the beginning. The size of the drums and the percussion is softer. Yeah. It starts off not as
aggressive.
It's not exactly.
Yeah,
it's powerful, but not as aggressive.
Yeah.
But these were it wasn't an easy or obvious decision by any means. So that's where, like, you spend a year writing themes, like a track like that, if it's working for people. That's
it only started to grow on me as because I was seeing the game as a whole piece, and so like I think it was hard for some people to see, like, okay, well, why would we do certain things inside there? Why would we change this or why would we change that? But I was seeing it holistically, and to his point about it being softer, the opening of the game is softer as well, but it also has some explosion to it. And I knew what the end was going to be like. And so, like, for me, like, that main theme after you complete the game, if you listen to it, it is the game.
You can feel the whole journey.
The whole thing, yes, from start to finish. Like,
There's a good main theme.
and it's like that. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that. Like, if you could listen to it right out of the gate and it impresses you, but then at the end you listen to it and you get a totally different feeling now from it because of the journey that you went on, then it's like bookend perfectly, and that's where I was seeing that behind the scenes. And a lot of people weren't able to see the whole piece of the game. So it's one of those, you know when it's right, because you sit there at like 2 a.m. and you're listening to it and you just put it on repeat.
Yeah.
And then you do it again and you're like, I should go home, and it's like 2:30 and you keep, and I'm just doing things in the background and you just keep hitting repeat, you know what I mean? And that, I'm not making that up. That was like a moment that happened. You're just grinding through all the other work that needs to be done, or bugs, or putting things together for other people, and you just keep pushing the bear button to motivate you. You know what I mean? It's like, it's an awesome feeling.
That's the best compliment you can receive from a director.
Man.
And I know, like, when I compose the main themes for the games that I'm working on, that is the most hard part. It's a nightmare sometimes because there's so many details you need to get right. And exactly what you just said, like, people need to feel the whole story. So the main theme, the music theory behind it needs to talk about the game, but at the same time, it needs to be like a banger that people remember forever, right?
Totally.
That is hard as heck.
Yeah.
And also, you need to be different from all the previous games that came in the series, and you want to stand out compared to all the games coming out that year, etc. So it's so many different challenges all together, and somehow you nailed it.
Well, it all comes down to the story, like I said earlier. When the story's there and the characters are there, the inspiration is there. I find it, I don't want to say easy, but it's a natural, organic process creating that. Whereas if you just said to me, like, write a theme that's just like going to stand out from all the other main games from the year and have it be awesome, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Of course.
But how to tell the story that you told me in our first meeting, it gets the gears turning. I can tell that story.
Dang. I love this conversation, guys. Like, honestly, I wish I talk with you guys, like, talk with you guys more often and stuff, but obviously your time is very busy. And the thing I like is that naturally we've been replying to all the questions from this set right now. So I guess we can probably move on to the next track, essentially.
Okay. Let's do it.
So let's do that. Track number 2. Let's go.
Thanks.
That was a sick track. Like you can feel the gravitas, like the weight of having angered Thor, and it's coming for you.
Well, it's prophecy.
Yeah.
I mean, it needs to feel inevitable. I mean,
Yeah.
that's one of the themes of the game, and one of the themes of the story is that, can you change your fate? And I want this track to say definitively, no, you cannot.
I see.
That's the great undercurrent of that.
Yeah.
It's like Odin is a very busy guy. He knows that time is running out. Like he's very conscious of what's happening.
Ooh.
And the darkness in the beginning I love is because we cast such a long shadow with him.
Yeah.
Talking about the last game, and like you were, I heard you over there saying all these things.
Yeah, yeah.
That brass kicks in, and that's Thor. But Odin always underneath. That's why I love the title even of that track. The Hand of Odin is he's always behind the scenes, making everything move.
I also in our early discussions about Odin, Richard Schiff was not cast
Correct.
when I was writing this. But I knew that we wanted to do something different with him.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea that he's a smaller stature physically,
Mm-hmm.
on paper he's a calmer figure. That this idea of that, when he walks into the room or even people talk about him, it's just like, don't mess with him. But if you don't mess with him, everything will be okay. We're not going to raise our volume here.
Yeah, he's good.
And I thought that I was able to kind of give an antagonist theme, a sense of something other than evil or just being sort of a villain. I really wanted the gravitas that he.
Yeah.
I wanted you to.
Feels like dark clouds looming
Yeah.
on top of you, but the storm has not begun yet.
Yeah.
Damn, that's beautiful. Well, we have a few questions. One interesting question that has not much to do with Odin is, actually, I've wrote this question myself.
No wonder it's interesting.
It's very interesting.
Oh, fuck! Sorry, maybe I'm not allowed to swear. I'm Italian, I'm sorry, I swear all the time. But I want to say, sorry. Did being a father make a difference for you in writing the music for this score?
That's a good question.
In which way did it? Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question.
Right, thank you.
I imagine that I will reflect the opinions of anyone on the dev team that has children or has been around children, that it did affect you making this game. There's no way it couldn't. And I was a father when I started God of War 2018. My daughter was 2. I think I started in 2015. Yeah. She wasn't even 2 yet. But that definitely affected me. And though I don't have a teenager yet, my daughter's got a defiance in her that I'm certain she got from me. So I can't, I got to take all the blame. That was at my mind. That was on the forefront of my mind, writing the score to this game and watching this relationship unfold, and this, Atreus wanting to be his own person. But it does apply to Odin and Ragnarok. I mean, the themes of fatherhood apply there too, on sort of multiple levels. And what does it mean to be a good father versus a selfish one? I mean, you've got opposing worldviews between Odin and Kratos, and in many ways, like Atreus is like stuck in the middle of all this stuff. So yeah, those emotions came up, and I think of myself as a writer like a method actor. Like I always have to feel, which is hard. It's hard to spend your days that way. Sometimes I'll just have tears pouring down my face as I'm writing a scene. But if I don't feel it, then I don't think it's fair to expect anyone else will. Mm-hmm.
I wonder how you must feel because you're notorious also for writing many horror scores. And I remember your Assassin's Creed Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
Again, I told you before, so there's this soundtrack from Assassin's Creed Jack the Ripper. He made the music. I listened to that for the first time while I was shopping for groceries, and I felt like a maniac because that soundtrack makes you feel like a monster. And it's so powerful. And
That's the idea.
That's ultimate method acting. Like, I wonder what you must have felt when you were composing.
Yeah, it's intense.
Dun, 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 dun.
Totally, man. It's intense, but I think that's what makes music authentic.
Oh yeah.
I like to think that I'm sharing a vulnerable part of myself with the listener, and if it translates, that's awesome, and if it doesn't, it's not because I didn't feel it.
Right. Eric, people wanted to know: was there a musical moment in the game that changed your perspective on the gameplay or the story? You talked before about people changing their minds on the intro, but did you have a change of mind when
Well, I mean, there's this one part that we cut that, was really, really hard to cut, but it was this like hurdy-gurdy mini game that we had.
No!
No, I'm just teasing. No, I don't know. There's so many moments. The Svartalheim combat music suite is, I think, one of the strongest in the game. And I don't want to spoil things, but there is a moment where something happens and you're very surprised, but the 3 fights after that moment happens, the music just elevates everything else that's happening, and it's this whole package of this. It's about 20-minute section, and you're just like, you go from like emotions of like, holy crap, that's happening, and then you feel like this like, oh yes, that's exactly how this should happen, to I can't believe I'm about to do this, that holy crap, that works like that, and then all these pieces just come together, and the music is driving you forward through all these events, and it's one of the strongest parts, in my opinion, in the entire game, because it's cinematics, gameplay, audio, music, acting, everything is colliding simultaneously over this little 20-minute stretch. And it's, if you ever had to like submit like, okay, this is what this part of the game is about, like it does all that. It hits every single note, and I don't mean like pun intended from the audio point, just all parts of the game are firing like at the apex. So like, I don't want to give away what part that is, but you should know it know it when you play it.
I will look forward.
So yeah,
because I still haven't gotten there. I'm glad you didn't spoil it.
But yeah, that Svartalheim like combat, it's good.
I'm looking forward to that. It's hard even to like, get like to sync all these different disciplines together into something great at the same time. That must be the hardest thing ever.
It's super hard. I mean, even just in the mixing session of trying to balance this audible storytelling with the sound effects cueing for the combat to the music, because everybody wants to be the star. And it does go through that too. Like whoever gets to it first, it's always louder. Yeah. And then it's this war of like going up, and then everybody goes, okay, we need to get this where it sounds good. So I thought that was fun, because I never really experienced it. I always heard about it, but when you actually see it happening in front of your eyes, you're like, oh yeah, this is. But I get it, why you would want to go that way. But hats off to the audio team. I mean, it just, and they're last in line. You have to think about it like that. Like that's one of the last things to be done, and they're there. The table's set, and it's like now they have to finish, and it's tough, and they get the smallest window to do it. Yet it's still that impressive. So please remember to thank your audio people out there, because they make it happen. They make his stuff sound good.
100%. Yeah.
It shows what you were talking about before, where you say do everything like you do anything, like putting focus on everything at the same level. When I think of the team at Santa Monica Studio, it's exactly what you described. Not just the game development, but even just the social media page for Santa Monica is like next level. And they were very instrumental for setting this up. Many of the graphics were done by Grace, I think. She couldn't be here with us today, but she's freaking amazing. And I'm very grateful for her.
Grace is incurable. Ryan Sampson put together all the video montages, the concept team for building all the art. I mean, you could go on and on, but you're right. It permeates the entire studio.
Okay, Bear, people want to know how you got the sound for Odin. We talked about the strings, but they wanted to know about the chanting and how much input did the writers have on the soundtrack?
Well, it's text is a huge part of it, and we collaborated closely with the writers of the game and people in the audio side on Santa Monica Studio. It took a whole sort of apparatus in place to make sure that the text is authentic. And for Odin, that just seemed very clearly like we would have. I always say that, like it would be so obvious, but it's obvious to me. I don't that we would have a low male choir singing a minor key melody. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not obvious, but that's what I wanted to do, and the studio agreed. And what we did with God of War 2018, we replicated here. We wanted all the text to be in Old Norse. And we recorded with choirs in Iceland. And the reason we did this is that because of their geographic isolation, the Icelandic language has evolved in such a way that it's more similar to Old Norse than any other functioning language on Earth today. So we could go to Iceland and record with native speakers in singing in Old Norse, but they could read it easily. Damn. So we didn't have to take all the time to teach them phonetically. Having just finished the Lord of the Rings of Power, let me assure you, that takes a long time teaching your choirs to sing in languages that they don't speak. So for Odin, for Ragnarok, the theme for Odin, I felt very much like vocalizations had to be a part of that. Low vocalizations had to be a part of that. And part of that was we had to set Thor and Odin, especially Odin, against Kratos. So in a way, their music had to have a certain muscularity and physicality and a sort of almost direct, masculine color. So you would believe that it would cause a problem for Kratos. I mean, I remember thinking that when I was doing early drafts of the Odin theme, that I was like, this is cool, it's ominous. And then I went back and listened to the Kratos theme and I heard bum, bum, bum. And it's like, that guy is gonna kick that guy's ass.
Yeah.
So back to the drawing board. And I think that was where that's where it started, because it implies this great strength, whereas Kratos comes out of the gate showing his strength. Odin is like, don't make me use it.
Yeah.
And
he's like a snake in the grass waiting.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So, and it takes so many people, like, to go back to the vocals and that, the writers, and they work with Justin Fields, who's here tonight. He wrote a lot of the stuff, and then we get it translated and it gets all there. It takes so many people. Like, it's not just like a one shot, you know what I mean, or a silver bullet, and it's all thanks to them to make it feel so authentic.
Yeah.
Even down to, this is a tiny bit of a spoiler, but Anger Boda summons our animals, we use the Kolning, and we got someone who did that, and we bring it all together, and it's the animals come and the calls, and it's just awesome. And Pete called in a favor and we got it taken care of, and it makes it feel magical, because it's a real world thing and it's the fantasy colliding at the same time.
I was going to say it brings an authenticity.
Yeah.
So yes, we're in a fantasy world, but we're using Nordic folk instruments. There's Nyckelharpa and Hardanger fiddle. We're using the Kulning vocal calls. We're using Ivor, who's the female singer.
incredible.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
And she's part of this greater outreach to sort of the Nordic music community, to be able to bring that sound to our score as a way to honor the mythological setting. And yet I feel also it is my job to bring in unusual instruments, to play those instruments in an unusual way, to broaden the sounds into something that will surprise and delight people. We're not making a Ken Burns documentary about the history of Nordic folk music.
Hey, don't knock Ken Burns.
I know, it's great.
My baseball guy.
So anyway, that's just the challenge and the balance.
It's creating that suspension of disbelief where there's just enough of the real world stuff brought in and just enough of the fantasy that you sit right in the pocket and you're like, this is right. And nothing takes away. You're not pulled out of them. Everything is just clicking along, and you just want to go for the ride. And we see it. People play our game for a long period of time, like compared to most games, like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hour sessions, which is kind of crazy to think about. But because you're right there and you're just going on this ride, and it just clicks and pulls you along.
That is one of my favorite things in games, actually. When I grew up, I played a lot of Final Fantasy, and there's characters in their summons that are based on mythologies from different cultures. I love when a game opens me up to different cultures like that. And me being like black, I remember when I was a kid, there wasn't a lot of like black representation in media, but whenever I saw something that was black for real, I was like, that's me, that's just So I can imagine how amazing it must feel to play God of War as somebody from those lands, like from Iceland and etc. Like it's beautiful what you guys did. And I bet lots of people are discovering music from those places now. Thanks.
I hope so.
And I bet that for you it was a lot of fun because you're a huge metalhead, right?
Oh, totally, man. Totally. No, when we were recording in 2018, I found some of my now favorite Icelandic metal bands. I reached out to them, and I might have some stuff working with them. I mean, it's very fun like that. You go up there and you make music in the snow, in the cold. And yes, the metal scene up there is fantastic, but also just the sound of the Nyckelharpa. It just chills you. You want to be huddled around a fire hearing it. Yeah. And I love that authenticity that the music can bring.
Yeah, I noticed that in your scores, generally speaking, even in the Lord of the Rings score, like the theme from Numenor.
Yes.
You use Mesopotamian instrument or something? Like
yes, it's Turkish and Armenian. And
that's where you're from, by the way, also,
I'm
right?
I'm Armenian. I'm part Armenian.
Yeah.
So a little chance to represent there. I'm part Armenian and part Scotch-Irish, so I use a duduk from Armenia and bagpipes in everything that I do. Is like my thumbprint.
There it is, the bagpipes.
Yeah.
It's out in the wild now. It's
true.
Yeah. That is beautiful.
We have bagpipes in this, by the way,
I know
way
we
more
do.
than in 2018.
I know we do.
I just snuck them in this time, like, yo, are we gonna? I thought
You have
they'd
to be
get-
careful with this guy. At one point, he was pitching me and he was like, all right, so I'm going to get this small little like Irish quartet and we're just going to record like 4 hours of pub music and then you just figure out where you want to put it in the game. And I was like, Bear, what are you talking about?
Would have been great. Would have been great.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Just more bagpipes, man. Just more bagpipes.
People wanted to know for Bear. You previously worked with Ivor in 2018. How did her role change in God of War Ragnarok?
Ivor is a phenomenal singer, and we found her, credit to the Sony Santa Monica crew. Pete Scaturo brought her up to me. I don't know who it was that found her, and said, listen to this singer, she's amazing, and we all agreed. We reached out to Ivor and collaborated with her, and she sort of officially was the voice of Atreus' mother. I mean, it's her humming, actually, her theme on the soundtrack was canonical in the world of the game itself. It was something that was acknowledged. So I think the biggest difference was really just that we knew what she was capable of. And in 2016, we debuted the music and we flew her out, and she does this like grunting vocalization that that I always wanted to use a lot in the score. And we didn't get to as much in 2018. And that was another thing in Ragnarok. And I was like, let's just put that in there, sneak that into combat and see what happens.
Worked out.
And it worked out. I mean, because I knew her better now. So I was able to write more very specific parts for her. This percussive, grunting chant that she does is amazing. Also, more ethereal lines. You heard her in the Kratos main theme, representing this ghostly aspect of his past. So I don't think she does anything that's like astronomically different than what she did in 2018, but I think
You unleashed her.
she's unleashed and she's placed in even like more deliberate places. I think fans of her voice are going to hear a lot more of her in Ragnarok, and that's exciting.
That reminds me a bit about you as a composer.
How's that?
Like, know that although you have sung on what soundtrack
Not
was
very well. I did
What song was that?
I did a movie called This Game's Called Murder, and I sang on Child's Play.
Right.
I stacked my vocals on all the I'll do I'm not a good singer with one track, but if I do like 80 tracks,
It works, yeah.
It works out great.
Yeah.
Safety in numbers.
Yeah, but no, I meant it reminds me of you because of like you talked about this duality of her, like she did the grunting and all that dark percussive stuff, but when you hear her voice is in Ashes, it's so beautiful and pure.
Yeah.
And your music can be the same, like beautiful and pure, but also sometimes very terrifying. And you're very good at both.
Well, thank you. And
So-
I like to surround myself with artists that are able to augment that. And I appreciate you saying that. And it's because I'm able to find people like her that can do that. I mean, that's that and work with storytellers that require that. I mean, this story needs that level of range.
Yeah. No,
Big,
Eric,
big game.
I have to commend you, Eric, because like I suppose to work with somebody like Bear that always tries to push the envelope the furthest possible, like it requires a lot of like
Patience.
patience probably, but also like a lot of trust and a lot of like
I wouldn't characterize it like that. I think everyone on the team knows what we need to do. And what we need to do is tell an amazing story about a father and a son. So no matter how big or crazy the game gets, if it gets away from that, then we're not where we need to be. And that's where it can get dangerous. So as long as you trust that everyone's on board with that mission, which everyone was, then everybody can kind of run wild. And you want them to push up against the walls, and you want them to kind of like, break the mold a little bit. Because if you give everything that's expected, then it's just that, and it's not interesting. So you want to take these little detours, and you want to go like, okay, that is a dark place, and we have no flashlight, no swords, no nothing. But I want you to go down there and find out what's there. And there's monsters and everything wants to kill you, But it's like if you can give them a little bit, or they get down there and they're like, okay, I kind of know what's down that road. Like, give me a couple more people and we can go figure this out. And I think it's exactly what happens. It doesn't matter if it's the music team or the audio team or the combat team or the art team or whatever. You just need to give them the confidence it's okay to go and you might get killed and somebody will come pull your body out. You know what I mean? I know this is sounding very morbid, but that's kind of how it feels because you're doing these things no one's done before. So with Bear, after that meeting, you get a sense of like, okay, I can connect with this person. Like, we've done it in 2 to 3 hours. It's just like when you meet someone for the first time, you either like, I want to hang out with them again, or you're like, okay, if we see each other, we'll be pleasant and be kind. But this was not that. It was like, yeah, it's like, we're going to hang out. And that's why they immediately was just like pinging each other and being like, hey, what about this? Or did you think about that? Or I have some more concept art I'm going to send you. I really want you to look at it today. And then you get empowered more and more and more. And that's what you really want to do. You want to have great people around you and you want to be able to empower them. Because I'm just one person at the end of the day and it takes a village, to make these kind of games. So yeah, I never really looked at it as that kind of thing. It was more just like the trust was built day one, and then it was just like, do your thing, I'll do my thing, and we'll meet in the middle.
I do want to add this, to make something great, you need that kind of environment, and I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of ideas. I know this about myself, and truly not everyone wants that in a collaborative partner, and that's fair. So I try to read the room and walk into every situation and kind of assess, like, what do they want? Even though deep down inside, like, if they want the best work out of me, the best way to get that is to let me turn my energy up to 11 and see what happens. And that doesn't always work out. So I did vibe, meeting with you, and of course we, had worked together, with Corey on 2018. So I felt, I always felt safe to just say like, hey, I'm coming in with all these ideas, and we can throw them all out. I'm not precious about them, but that I'm always grateful to find people that will want to collaborate with me in that way, because that's where I'm the most fun. Because once I start censoring my ideas, because I go, that might be a little too daring for this project, then I'm in a mode of like, I'm not as creative, and I'm not making something that.
We were honest with each other too, where he's like, I'm going to push this, and I'm like, cool, do that. And if it doesn't, we'll need to bring it back, or we'll need to go in this direction. And I think again, that's what you want. You want to be able to be honest. Like, trust is, you want that for sure, but I think that's earned through honesty. Right. Like, if you can be honest with someone and you can't say like, that's not it, or like, there was one thing that you sent over one time, and it was just like, I was like, this middle bit is just too much. There's too much you here. We need to bring that back. And he was like, damn it. I'll never forget. He's like, my wife said that too.
No, it's true.
But that's awesome that you can say that. And him to call back and be like, yeah, I've already been called out on this. It was a second opinion.
Of course.
I was hoping it didn't go that way, But there were other things where he pushed me, where I was like, I'm not sure about this. And then I heard it and I was like, of course. And the thing that I think clicked the most was the first time he played the Atreus theme. Because I was sitting there and I was like, this is more than I could have ever asked for. And he's over there being like, it's just the first pass, and all that kind of stuff, and setting the tables. And they got done playing, and he was kind of explaining where it came from. And in my head the whole time, I'm like, this just sounds like when you're a kid and you discover like hardcore music or punk rock for the first time. And it's not your parents' music that you've been brought up on. And it was like, and then he's saying these words as I'm thinking this in my head. He's telling me that story, and I'm like, we're good. You know what I mean? And it's like, that thing is such an earworm once it gets in, and then, he has the sneaky explanation for it that I don't want to ruin, but yeah. It's awesome.
That's cool. That's cool.
That's very nice. Guys, let's listen to track number 3.
Okay.
Let's check it out. That was pretty awesome there.
Thanks.
By the way, guys, for those of you joining in, we are listening to the soundtrack of God of War Ragnarok, which is also available for purchase right now. I do recommend to buy it because it's pretty awesome. This is a soundtrack that works so well in the game, but by itself, even if you listen to it without having played the game, it's just so good. But play the game. The game is great as well. But yeah, Bear and Eric, we have a bit more questions for you. 2 for Bear, 2 for Eric.
All right.
For you, the game has a lot of themes about fate and the meaning of life. When you listen to the music, it almost sounds like an epic historical battle. How did they channel those themes into the music? Like the fate and the
I think,
story.
yeah, I love that idea of putting narrative themes into musical themes, which is part of what our early discussions were, you know, and I've already mentioned, you know, fatherhood, adolescence were themes. Fate was a big one. And it materialized in some interesting ways. I mean, I've already mentioned how in Ragnarok, you have this, you know, storm cloud of the and that seems very inevitable. Angerboda's theme explores fate in a much different way. It's more emotional. It's more at peace. Her melody is very gentle and ethereal. You know, but it's almost like I was thinking about someone accepting their fate, you know, resigned to their fate, perhaps. And how does that feel, you know, where Odin is not? I mean, it's almost like he's trying to turn a ship against a hurricane, and that's where the so that was something, it materialized in that each character has a sort of inner stability or lack thereof that is decided by what their perception of fate is. And whether or not you can change it. So in a way, it affected every theme in the game.
So for these two, like the Huldra brothers,
this one was really fun.
This track is a banger.
Oh man, this was one of the first ones I did. I loved getting a chance to write a theme for these guys. I did not write them a theme last time around, just like with Atreus. Not that they didn't deserve one, but there wasn't space for them to need one in 2018. So I didn't just graft it on. Because honestly, it would have felt like an old school, like 16-bit RPG when you go to the shop and you hear their little theme, which is funny. Because,
but they weren't a unit yet either.
Well, exactly.
It wouldn't make any sense. Like, you know, like until they come together, then it's their theme.
Yeah. So you have that here, and you know, for me, it's that unevenness in the meter. It's in 7/4. So if you're marching your feet left and right, you'll notice the downbeat switches every other bar, like they're together, but it's awkward, you know? And that's a hurdy-gurdy, I was gonna say that's me playing, but it's Rabe. I think it's Rabe serenading them. No, I don't know, there's something about the hurdy-gurdy, it just felt dwarven to me, you know?
Works.
Even though I've used it in a lot of other places, but yeah, it was a fun one.
Eric, was there? Wait, no. This is from before. Did we? Interesting. We
miss one?
the same question twice.
Oh, okay.
So I will
Give
not.
a different answer.
I will not ask that.
That's always.
But I will ask you, what was your favorite theme that you heard in this game from Bear?
Oh, that's like, I mean, you can't pick favorites. I mean, he's sitting right here. It's funny because I hear them in different phases and they come at different times. Like the first two really that come through that I probably listened to the most was Atreus and Angerboda, because we had to figure out these kids for this game and like what they were going to be. And then the Brock and Sindri stuff started to come through, and it's just so fun and lighthearted. And it pulls you back to those classic fantasy games that, you know, I played as a kid, all those SNES RPGs and all that kind of stuff. And then the Odin stuff comes in, so it goes through phases. Like you're like, you know, like Angerboda's was my favorite for the longest time because you know he nailed what we were going for with that whole space and their relationship and what could come of it. And
whether it's anyone's favorite, I think it's the most surprising.
Yeah, that's why
you know,
it becomes that. It's much like that level. The game is very surprising as well, you know. And we don't want to get into spoiling anything, but those were things the team really bought into too. Like that was going to be the, you know, like we got to put everything into this. So when we heard the music that was going to go with it, we're like, wow, the two of them are really clicking. This is going to be fun. But yeah, there's just so many. I mean, the main theme is it's hard to get away from, because it says so much. And when you know the journey, you're like, wow, it's big and epic, but it's poignant at the same time, because you know intimately now the story that the characters are going to go through, specifically the parent of Kratos and Atreus. That relationship is so strong. But yeah, I don't know, it's like hard to pick.
I'm really looking forward to your video on the behind the scenes with for the Atreus and Gerboda themes.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff in there.
Oh yeah,
dude, I don't know, man. He like plays the hurdy-gurdy for like 7 minutes straight. It's
pretty great.
It's a tough watch.
Pretty great. No, it's like
it's
10.
absolutely amazing. It's by far one of the best ones. Yeah.
I wonder if there was like an instrument you wanted to bring in and they didn't let you do it, or if there's an instrument you would like to bring in.
Yeah, no, it's
like
funny.
you like to hear in God of War eventually.
I don't know. I mean, I did get a little pushback on the bagpipes last time, and I legit like put them in more this time to see if that could work. I'm only half kidding. No, actually, I'm not kidding. No, there's the thing that's great about working with this team is like if there's a way to make an instrument fit, then they help me make it fit. Nobody said to me out of the gate, well, don't try this or don't try that. I think there's that inherent trust that I'm not going to bring in something like wildly.
There's more realms, there's more characters, so that we had to expand. And so it allows for more experimentation, and you want to push those bounds out even more. So I don't think it was more like, oh, Bear's trying to do bear things again. It was none of that. It was like more like, oh, we do need something interesting for this character, or like, how are we going to play up this bit? Because there's some characters in the game where it's different than anything in God of War has had before, and it has to be more lighthearted, and there was almost, music had to be cobbled together to create those moments as well. And it was like taking what he had done and then kind of almost like cutting it up and being like, okay, well, how do we land this, but it still make it feel like God of War, but also the pushing the bounds of what God of War could be. So it's, it's even trust on that side, right? It's like he delivers, and then it's like, all right, we're going to take and do this, and then it's still going to work, and he's going to be proud of it at the end of the day. So it goes both ways for sure.
Definitely goes both ways. Yeah. And I mean, I'm always looking for new and cool instruments, to bring into stuff, So that's what's fun about a score like this, is it lets me search out for people.
Right. People are wondering if you actually learned a bit of ancient Norse yourself to compose the God of War main theme. We talked about this a little earlier.
I mean, like the language, no, I did not. Justin Fields here and the team were all very helpful, thankfully. Yeah. I did not have to. I would love to one day, though.
Yeah.
To be fair, I'm also very terrible at the Old Norse. I butcher the pronunciations all the time. I had our writers actually make like a thing to help me pronounce the words so I would not sound like an idiot. So thank you to the writers again, Matt and Rich and everybody else.
Yeah.
But again,
we're all bad at it.
I have to commend what you guys did. Again, as a black person, I would love to see game developers daring to do what you guys did for God of War for Africa in a way. Like, because obviously there's the fear of looking stupid. One time I was writing a theme myself for a game and I was using foreign languages that I didn't know, but we wanted to convey like a part of the culture. And there's the fear of like, oh, I'm going to look stupid. Maybe they're going to misunderstand this. But I think it's important to try, and to do it right?
Well, it just requires vast amounts of humility.
Yeah.
And you bring in people that know, and you trust them, and you let them guide the process, and it also requires curiosity. I mean, I love that because I get to learn. Though I'm not going to like speak Old Norse at the moment. I do have an appreciation for the language and the culture because I have a curiosity. I want to learn how these instruments work, how the vocals work, what the traditions are. Even if I'm gonna break the rules, I want to know the rules so I understand what I'm doing.
That's always the trick right there.
Yeah. There's nothing more, beautiful for somebody coming from a culture that is like a minority or not taken into consideration often, to see somebody trying to get curious about it. And they don't have to get it right. It's just nice to see that. So I'm very proud for you guys for that. Eric and Bear, people were wondering, what advice would you give to your past self if you could meet them, if given the opportunity? Like you meet Bear and Eric of the past and you're talking with them.
Yeah, how far back are we going?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Because if I can meet my past self, I'm not talking about this guy.
Yeah.
bigger fish to fry.
Yeah.
When you were just starting out in your careers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky because, I've made a lot of mistakes and I've learned a lot of hard lessons. But I'm who I am because I made those mistakes and learned those hard lessons, and I don't know that I'd be who I am if I could go back in time and say like, oh hey, remember that thing that that thing you're gonna say? Like you're gonna get fired from this gig if you say that. But it's like, I'm glad I learned those lessons. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's kind of a wishy-washy answer, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. Is like I'm grateful for all the.
I'm gonna back you up on that, Barry.
All right.
No, that's the same way I feel also.
Kind of going back, like you could change where you are. I mean, sure, you can always try to do things better, but sometimes those things are what get you where you need to be. I think it's more like, since you can't go back, you should always look back though a few times. Like a good friend once told me, is like, if you're not embarrassed of the person you were 5 years ago, you haven't grown and you need to do a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's constant, right? You should always be doing that. And if because I am, like, there's things I did in 2019 that I'm like, was I an idiot? You know what I mean? Or the conversation you have with somebody. And, but you can't undo that. Like time is linear, it moves forward. So, and one of the big things we tried to push on the team to everyone is like, we're going to make mistakes all the time.
Yeah.
It's what you do next that counts. You can let it sit, or you cannot repair that relationship, or these things that happen. And so like, if you just, step up to the problem or the thing that you created and you fix it, or if you made the mistake and it's costing other people time, like you dive in there and fix it with them. And I think that's the stuff that you want to push forward. So, it's like, I'd only reinforce that because it's just like, keep doing it and don't change, because that will be there.
Yeah.
Good results will come. But there's always going to be some chaos. It's the world.
I think it's reassuring for probably many people watching this to hear this coming from you guys, because you just created this super smash hit game, and people have this idea that, people who succeed, they just naturally were born like that. Of course, you write this soundtrack in this game, like you're a genius.
The only
doesn't
difference
work like that,
between
right?
people that succeed and people that fail, or the people that succeed fail and then just
stop.
keep
They kept
going. That's
yeah.
the only difference.
Yeah,
Like-
I know there's somebody watching this right now who is probably timidly watching, trying to find, and I did this, by the way, with your videos, trying to find the answer. Barry's gonna slip and say the secret sauce, like the secret phrase that changed his life, and maybe I can learn from that, and then I become a composer. And I tried looking for that for many years. You will not find it anywhere. Nobody has the answers in that regard. These people here, Bear, Eric, the team at Santa Monica, everybody, they're just people who get their hands dirty, and they try. And yes, you get sometimes hate comments and all this stuff and criticism, but they're just part of the path. I just embarked it myself, and I'm noticing. And as I'm noticing all these things, my respect for you guys is growing astronomically.
Wow.
Because I know how hard it is, and I'm impressed by how long you guys have been doing this.
That's right there, what you said is the key.
Yeah.
It is always hard.
Yeah.
It never comes easy. You have to just keep working at it. It's like, when I see someone do something and it looks effortless, I immediately think of all the work that I never saw that made that moment happen. Like if you see a ballerina like fly across the stage, in your brain, people cannot fly.
Yeah.
And you watch it happen right before your eyes, and you don't think of all the broken toes, the bruised bones, the sweat, the days of just grinding it out to make that one moment look effortless. And so when you see something like this, you're like, how would anybody ever do that? It's like you don't see all the just failure, just grinding it out, being tired, people getting migraines and pushing through to like do this work and come through, and all these pieces that it takes thousands of people to make this happen. And they're all doing that. They're all having those moments and all the stuff you don't see that happens. And that's what you have to kind of think about sometimes. And it's not to be like, oh, like I should, worship that or whatever. It's just, but that's what, if you want to do something, you're going to have to step up and you're going to have to do that. You're going to have to be willing to fail. You're going to have to be willing to grind it out. It's not going to come easy every day.
Yeah.
And you have to get that like mental acclimation to it being okay.
Yeah.
Like another thing I always look at is like, baseball. It's my favorite sport. And these guys go up there, and if you're 30%, you're good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it like 25% is average, and they go in front of millions of people, and they fail 75% of the time. I mean, you have to have like some kind of weird mental fortitude or like masochism to do that. So like, it's the same thing behind the scenes of video games. And so again, just if you're out there and you want to, he's right. There's no secret sauce.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it, and it will come.
Yeah. It's very inspiring, guys. Thank you. I'll take that to heart myself. Anyway, let's move to track number 4. Check out what's coming next. And we're back.
Thanks.
All right. That was very, very, very good. Very different also compared to the other
Well, yeah,
ones
because
we
this is the first one we've listened to that isn't a theme. This wasn't part of my early sketching. This was like in the heart of the production process where you guys were building levels and we were creating adaptive music. And in fact, that is a cut down on the record, which itself is a cut down of like, you know, I wrote so much music, both horizontally and vertically. But one of the things that's cool about that is you were asking earlier about different instruments.
Yeah.
These are a lot of South American influences. There's South American drums. There's a South American woodwind instrument called a cana. There's pan flutes in there. Those were all things that I was like, prepare to have this thrown out when
Yeah.
I submit it. Pan flutes in God of War, but there it is. And yeah, I was curious, like, was it different when the team got music that actually went into levels? Like, you and I spent a lot of time talking about themes, but I mean, really the vast majority of the music I wrote was adaptive combat music. And what was that experience like for them to get my demos?
I think, if I can speak for them, it starts to shape it. Because specifically Vanaheim, because we had never done anything like that before. Like, that level is so foreign to what God of War was known to be at that time. You know, it was like architecture and all this, and it's just this wild jungle. And people were getting lost, like, left and right in there and stuff like that. And I kind of liked that. I
was a
wanted
breath of
that
fresh air.
part of it to be that.
Yeah.
So we wanted the music to kind of reflect that. And, you know, it's just, again, like he said, he sends over a lot, and then we kind of cut it and move it around and use it in different ways, and they'll isolate bits for certain pieces, and it pulls you through. It's almost like there's this phantom thing out in front that you can't see, and it's kind of slowly guiding you, and then the narrative and the dialogue is also doing that. So you kind of, there's all these little different breadcrumbs that are pulling you through these levels, even when you feel like you're a little lost and you look around. So I don't know the specifics of it, because I only kind of hear it when it's put together like that. But I know that process, because they kind of showed me, like, one time they were like, "Oh, look at this drive," and it was like, "Here's all your music," and it's just all these little isolations of each instrument. And I'm like, "Whoa, we can go that granular?" And they were like, "Yeah, don't say you ever saw this."
It was,
but I'm saying it right now.
yeah,
so,
like
yeah.
what was interesting about the adaptive music is that working with the audio team, I wrote more layers of instruments than make sense to the human brain. Meaning, at a certain point, I was like, if you unmute all of this, it will be like listening to 5 songs at the same time. It's cacophonous.
Damn.
So I was like, and I was throwing in markers like, okay, I think the voice and the voice line and the flute line will match together, but like, don't use the nickel harpa line. And I just packed all this stuff in just to the breaking point. But the reason I did that, I was working closely with the team, was because we wanted to have more. We wanted to be able to have it expand outward further. And in many ways, it's like you're stretching this material out. Like,
And it works, because there would be parts where I'd be like, "We need more energy here,"
Yeah.
and they were like, "Oh, okay," and they was like, "Pop the percussion on," and you're like, "That works. Let's
Yeah,
do that." Or it's like,
percussion,
"No,
1
it's,
of 10.
it's too much right now." Like, and they would start dropping pieces, or like, "Let me go find that," and they'd add it and splice it in, and that was, and to me, like, it's so wild to watch them work, because it's just all these, like, stuff in Pro Tools or whatever they're using, and it's just, they're moving stuff around, and I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. They hit play, and I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. You know what I mean? It's like a magic trick to me, but I know, again, it goes back to that effortless. They're so good at what they do. They can just operate on the fly, not like go away for an hour. Like, they'll do it right in front of you, and you're like, yes, and then they'll be like, okay, go away, and we'll make it really nice now, and they'll trim the edges and all that kind of stuff. So it's, again, go back to it, it's just, you have to work with people that really, really care about what they do, and also have the skills to back it up.
and that you trust too.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
for me, like, handing over music that if you just played it, it would literally sound bad. There's too much information. I am trusting the team to navigate through this, because we wanted to give you those pieces, all that flexibility. So that was really cool, getting to like work that closely with the dev team and create something that I think is going to translate to a really exciting, dynamic, expressive experience when you're in combat.
Yeah, trust me, I played that almost final version of the game like 5 times this year. It's good.
Wow.
I promise you, it's good.
I love that level. I played it like recently, and it's really, really, really beautiful. And a breath of fresh air as well. And this is tricky, like adaptive music in games. When you do it so perfectly, people don't realize that it's adaptive. Like, it works so amazing. They're like, yeah, this is so natural. Of course, like, that's the soundtrack. No, it's not. Like, the soundtrack is following you, the player itself, right? But for every person, can be slightly different. And yeah, I think that's not praised enough. So like,
well, it's like you said, we all do our jobs correctly, and it disappears into your experience. And that's really, I think, the key to game development is you could apply that to anything with the story and the visuals. And it's like, we're all going to work so hard so that you feel like you're in Vanaheim, and you're not supposed to appreciate the intricacies of the composition that I provided, or the programming and the mix layering that the audio team put in there. It's all about suspension of disbelief, that you are this character, and that you're in this environment, And that's something that I mean, it's why it's fun to be here at a listening party with all of you and be able to listen to this and go, wow, that's really cool, you know? At the end of the day, though, if you're playing the game and you go, wow, that's really cool, then we're not doing our jobs. You just need to, it needs to be part of your experience. And then almost like on a second playthrough or for like serious music nerds like you and me, you know, that it's like, that it's there to be mined if you want to dig for it. But I think music is meant to be felt and heighten the emotional experience.
Yeah, you want it to be like a washover effect. You know,
That's beautiful.
So you're in the moment on the buttons, and it's just washing through you, but it's all connecting at the same time.
You need to have a lot of like, you need to be very humble to be able to do this because, you know.
You need to act that way. No.
Yeah, no, listen, I have that problem. Like, I'm like.
No, you do, man. You got to separate your ego.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's very hard.
And it is true, like every time something's been thrown out, and I'm just like, my first instinct is that you shouldn't throw it out. It's good. If I didn't think it was good, I wouldn't have played it for you. But then it's like, but it's not what this job needs. It's not what this artist that you're working with wants. It's not what the story needs. So it's like, and you just kind of, you just get over yourself like, yep.
And you have to have a good team of editors around you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, can't remember where I read this or who said it or whatever, but it's like a film director would take an editor and it was like, if the editor wasn't willing to cut the best scene in the movie, they shouldn't be editing the movie.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, that's who you need as a partner that's willing to take what you think is the best thing in there and say, but it doesn't work for what the overall thing we're trying to do. And if you don't have that kind of relationship, you're not going to end up with your best work.
One of my
they're
mottos,
going to be too much respect.
one of my mottos is nothing is sacred.
There you go.
And best ideas will rise to the top. So let's, whenever possible, just like clear the deck and just don't be afraid to start over. Interestingly, we did that in 2018. The original theme for Kratos was supposed to be like
the mother theme?
No, that was Kratos' theme. That was his theme. Because we were reinventing God of War. And we weren't going to do the super violent, masculine kind of theme. So I had Ivor sing this. That was his theme. And it was his theme for a year. It was in the first vertical build. And about maybe at 8 months, a year later, word came down that it's like, as the game got greenlit, that's not working. That we really do need something to represent this guy that is acknowledging his past a little more. But the original idea was nothing is sacred. Let's have the theme for this guy be this beautiful feminine melody, this lullaby, which of course, yes. Then 6 months after that, there was a cinematic and I was sketching and I thought, I wonder, because I was actually instructed that theme was, it was now out of the game.
Oh, don't use it anymore.
No.
Wow.
But it was like, okay. I was like, okay. That was one of those like, okay. But it's good because then I went home and I wrote bum, bum, bum. But then later on I thought, what if I just throw it back in there? What if it's his mother's theme? And I just threw it in there. And I didn't flag it. I didn't say, hey, that thing that we threw out is back in the game. I just thought the best idea will rise to the top. Yeah. And it clicked immediately. I mean, it was,
Well, yeah, because the storytelling of it is the key. Just everything we go to is that if it did sound good and people liked it, but it wasn't right for him, but there's one person that was able to soften him to create a family again, that's the voice.
Yeah.
So that's why it still works, right? Because it's like, that's the voice that allowed him to become human again, to have a family, and it all works.
It's also part of the collaborative process. I always talk about the note behind the note, meaning somebody is saying something, but what are they really trying to say? And so when the note is like, that theme's not working, let's take it out of the game, what it means is it's not working for this purpose, very specifically, and what we need is something else. And once we have that, maybe we can bring it back in. We were speaking before the show about the vitality of your first idea.
Yeah.
And that first idea, when it was Corey told me the story of God of War 2018, was a woman going, So I had to honor that. I mean, like, even when I was told to throw it out, it's like, okay, but it's like, I'm going to remember that was the first impulse, and like, let's just see if there's a place for it. And that's the fun of the creative process and the collaborative process and the game development process, where you can have years to do this. So for a year, that melody wasn't in the game, and then it was back. And that's just the fun of it.
Yeah, it's almost like when we're working on the game, it's the same thing. When we start to get past like the halfway point, I try to tell everyone, is like, we had all these great ideas, all this kind of stuff, none of it matters anymore. The game is the game now, and if you listen to it, it will tell you what it wants, because it's its own thing now. It's living, it's breathing, and if you listen to it, you really put yourself aside, all the things that you really hoped and wanted, it'll tell you the right thing to do when you run into those problems. And I know that sounds like some kind of weird,
No,
like witchcraft philosophy, like it.
No.
Hello, game, but it's like if you pay attention to it, you'll be like, oh, I love this part, but it should not be here.
Yeah.
The pacing is hurt. Take it out, or no, we need to let this go on longer, even though I know this is going to crazy stuff to the budget and the production timing and all this. We need a little bit more time with this, but for the characters, and then it really starts to take on a life of its own. Mm-hmm. So, and what he's talking about is just that. You just let it sit, and when it wants to come back, if it should, it'll make its way back.
I'm glad that you kept that theme, because it's my favorite from the first game, actually.
Thank you.
It's just super powerful.
It's a great little melody that tells you a lot about a character that is not visible.
Yeah. So weird, because like you hear that theme so many times that it really feels like she's there.
Yeah, I think in the first half of the game you hear it more than Kratos' theme than the main.
Yeah, I think so as well.
It is. My initial idea was that the main theme of the game is this, and you could make the argument in 2018 that it is, and that's what's been fun about expanding all the themes in Ragnarok, and of course that theme returns as well. And but also the impulse that Kratos needed his own theme is 100% correct, and I'm so glad that we threw the other theme out, cleared the decks, and I came up with this whole other thing that is really effective.
But like we were talking about with the new main theme being like encapsulating the story, it's why she's so present throughout there, and hearing that in 2018 is, there's a line at the end the kid says, she was with us the whole time. Mm-hmm. It's like it connects to the story. It's not just like, oh, we want to use it. It's like, no, like it's both parts coming together simultaneously, like what they're feeling in the game and what we're trying to project to the music for you to feel, to connect with those moments, to bring it all together. And it only works when you have that much time to do it. And you can't rush it. And you have to have a lot of restraint too. And it's the same thing, because you go big, it's like, but then where do you go? So you gotta let it kind of like simmer, and it gets to a boiling point, and then you're like, you drop a line like that, and everybody goes, of course that's what they would say. And it's a magic moment.
Nice. That's amazing. That one specific detail about the music carrying her until the end, and then saying that, that's beautiful. I think I didn't notice on the first playthrough. That's wow. I wonder how many details there are in the game that I didn't know. For example, again, that one back there, the serpent, I didn't realize it was a serpent until yesterday.
Yeah.
And I've been playing this game for several years.
Do you know the runes in that one say Ragnarok?
Yeah, no, okay. I figured that out. I'm not that stupid yet.
I didn't know that. I'm that stupid.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Nobody's stupid. It's
That's
just
cool.
there's layers to all this. Let's be careful with the
No.
language.
Well, we have... by the way, I want to say one thing. You were talking before about how, you have to remove your ego from the music and let people experience the whole thing. It's very noticed in God of War Ragnarok, because to me, like, it feels like I'm playing a documentary of stuff that really happened. Like, that's the impact of everything, just so powerful. It's such a powerful experience, like, in every aspect. Then I'm a music nerd, so, the thing that I notice most is the music, but I enjoy the rest of the game as well.
Do you hear that?
Yeah.
Just saying.
We got
You're
something.
welcome, Alex.
We
You're
got
welcome.
something for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
We have two questions for you guys, and then we're gonna move on to the last track. Before that, I still wanna say again, guys, if you haven't played the game, recommend to buy it. It's pretty awesome, especially if you like the first one. Personally, I'm liking it even better than the first one. It feels like the first one was so amazing, and it was so epic, and my God, so many twists and turns, and the finale delivered. And I felt, how can they top this? With this one, I think you guys topped it by adding a lot of humanity. I love all the relationships between all the characters. There's a lot more going on, and it's so beautiful. The music is awesome. The album is available on Amazon. There's the art book, which is also available for pre-order on Amazon. The Art of God of War Ragnarok. And Bear is gonna do another video behind the scenes where he talks about the Atreus and the Angerboda themes. And yeah, 2 more questions for you guys. One is for Eric. Kratos has been on an amazing adventure. Where would you like to take him now, like next?
I'm fine with where he is right now.
That is very nice. Honestly, I don't know if you're being like subtle, I'm not going to tell you, or if you actually mean it.
No,
but
I mean that.
You mean it? I
I
appreciate
think
that.
it took a long time to get him where he is right now.
I really
and
appreciate
I think
that.
it's okay to let him be where he is right now.
Yeah, that is a powerful answer. No, honestly, I know how.
Plus, I'm not allowed
hard
to say anything. I mean, there's that part too. I'll be honest.
Right, of course. But I know it's hard to let go of something like that. So
Yeah, I've been with that guy since 2004. So you get to you get to know him inside and out, and
yeah,
you know we grow as people, and you want to be able to reflect that in the game. And like I said, I think we gave him a very fitting ending. So to everybody out there that's still playing,
yeah.
enjoy
Don't
it.
tell me because I don't know what it is.
No, I'm not going to tell you. I want everybody to experience it for themselves.
Thank you. Last question before we move on to the next track. Who blew the horn to summon the serpent in God of War 2010? And is there a reason they didn't answer this in Ragnarok?
So the only person that knows that should be sitting here, but he didn't show up today. No, I'm just teasing.
I'm like,
But you got to ask Corey. If he was here, you could ask him.
okay. Well, do you guys?
I have nothing else to add to that.
Nothing
Yeah,
else
it's a
yet?
Corey
No?
question.
Okay. Well,
The world may never know.
let's move to track number 5, which, by the way, compliments again. That track has won some awards. It's a vocal theme from the game, and let me tell you, I love soundtracks deeply. Like, I'm a soundtrack nerd ever since I was a kid. I always had a pet peeve for vocal themes because I always felt like many times they're done in a way where they don't reflect the story of the game at all. But
I was
this-
like you. I was definitely like you.
This one does.
And when I would get a new record, if it started with the vocal tune, I'd always be like,
Yeah.
track 2. Always.
High five.
Right on, bro.
This one.
No.
This one though.
We didn't want that to happen this time.
Yeah.
We didn't want that to happen.
Yeah. It's a pretty cool track. So let's listen to it. Track number 5. Let's go.
To all things housed in her silence, nature offers a violence, the bear that keeps to his own line, the wolf that seeks always its own kind. The world that hardens as the harsher winter holds, the parent forced to eat its young before it grows. Every bird gone unheard, starving where the ground is froze. The winter sunrise, red on white, like blood upon the snow. Like blood upon the snow. The ground walked here is a wonder. It ceases never to hunger. And all things nature's given, she takes all things back from the living. I've walked the earth and there are so few here that know how dark the night and just how cold the wind can blow. I've no more hunger now to see where the road will go. I've no more kept my warmth than blood upon the snow. Blood upon the snow. Blood upon the
1 second. They're showing this. Okay. Is it time? Okay. Well, guys, did you like what you heard? That was freaking amazing. And
Thank you.
deserve the best applause ever, dude.
Thank you. I mean,
Honestly.
just a huge shout out to Hosier
yeah.
for collaborating with me on that song, and he wrote these incredible lyrics and came over to my studio and we collaborated on the music. And I understand you guys chatted too about the direction of the lyrics.
Yeah, it was awesome. We sat down. We were supposed to have like a 20-minute call, and I think we ended up talking almost like 2 hours. We just kept running the call longer, and he was really curious. He's a gamer, you know. Like
He really wanted to be a part of the story, and
Yeah,
we were super fortunate that
super good people,
Yeah,
so
to
we
find
knew it
him.
was going to click.
it was awesome.
It's been a very instrumental part to the music itself. Like he helped write the lyrics and everything. And
Yeah, and
wrote the music.
he brings exactly what you want with his voice. He's
Yeah.
got a masculine voice, but it's expressive and lyrical
Yeah.
and poetic. And it's I was describing to him that he is able to say what Kratos can't. You know, he's his inner voice, this inner beauty. If Kratos could just say all the things he wanted to say, he would sound like Hosier.
And on the flip of that, it's like Atreus isn't ready to say those things.
Yeah.
He hasn't lived enough. He's like somewhere right in between them.
Yeah,
That's
it's a beautiful song.
Yeah, I think people writing vocal themes for games should take notes. That includes me. Well, very humbled by the expertise you guys put together and the heart that is pulsing in the soundtrack of this game is just mind blowing.
Thank you.
Beautiful stuff, like from you and the music team and everybody, and you know Eric. Amazing work, really, really incredible. Once again, a round of applause, guys.
Thank you.
Amazing. People watching in the chat. This is the end of the listening party, but it's not the end of Bear sharing his insights on the God of War soundtrack, because next week it's going to be a BTS video called Gods of Score. I love that. Where you talk about the Atreus and Angerboda theme, right?
Yeah, it's a fun one.
Yeah, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this listening party. I hope it inspired you. I hope you learned, you know, from these two that, damn, like dedication and passion really take you to beautiful places. And mistakes happen during the process, but it's worthwhile to keep trying, because then you create stuff like this. I'm sure this story is gonna end up impacting people's lives and change some lives. There's been people out there who have been waiting for this game for so long, and maybe they've been through some very dark freaking times, but the light at the end of the tunnel was the fact that God of War Ragnarok is coming out. And I know maybe to people who don't play video games, that sounds absurd, but you know how much that means to gamers.
Yeah.
Like, you guys really, yeah, you impacted everybody in ways that I cannot even articulate. So I'm very proud of you and everybody here in the audience, like the Santa Monica music team, the social media team, everybody that worked on this game. Like, you guys are freaking legends, and you make the world a better place. And I know it's not easy, and I know that, yeah, like, people don't get to hear all your stories, and I wish they did, but I'm so glad and proud of the work you guys did. And yeah, I'm humbled to be in the same room with you guys. So thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this. And yeah, do you have some final messages for the fandoms?
No, just we love you guys. We made this game for you. It's a work of passion that all of us come together, and we, you know, love that we're fans of our own game with you guys. So, you know, I just am excited to share it with the world now.
I don't know how I'd possibly follow Alex. That was very heartfelt, dude. He made me feel really good about what we've done. So thank you so much. But I'm going to take this opportunity to shout out all my friends and family in Ohio that got me to where I am today. Thank you so much. You guys are the best.
Right on.
And this guy, Bear McCreary.
And this guy, Eric. Bravo. Thanks for putting up with me. And Alex, man, you've been awesome. Thank you. Best of luck with your games, man. I can't wait to hear more of your music
Thank you.
and
Appreciate it.
experience it in game.
I appreciate it, man. Like, coming from you, I cannot even talk. My brain just fried. You know how much your music means to me, and
Thanks.
I appreciate you. Anyway, guys, check out the Bears music, not just God of War. I mean, yes, check God of War. Check out the whole thing. This guy is a maniac. He's crazy. Amazing. If you like what we heard, check out the rest of his catalog, because, damn, awesome stuff. Anyway, I think we should wrap up.
All right.
And
Thank you so
leave it
much,
at that.
Alex.
Thank you guys for having me. And thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you another time. Bye.